trying to connect for the past 15 minutes, and sometimes it keeps whirling, going round and round. I don't understand why it has taken me so long to connect. And then it says, can't find your microphone. So, in any case, I'm happy that this has happened finally. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I can go ahead with what I was doing yesterday. So, yesterday we were actually doing a bit of revision, and we finished the place of articulation for consonant sounds, and we went on to do a bit of the manner of articulation as well. I introduced you to, I had actually already done this, but I spoke of bilabials, no, I spoke of plosives and affricates so far as manner of articulation was concerned. So if you remember correctly, when we discuss place of articulation, you're dealing with terms like bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palato-alveolar, post-alveolar, velar, glottal. So these are terms that actually describe where in the mouth a particular sound is being produced. And when you're talking about manner of articulation, you're trying to understand how that particular sound is being produced. So if you already have this picture in front of you, so you can understand that when we are talking about plosives, the manner of articulation for p, b, t, d, k, g, if we are talking about their manner of articulation, we know that they are plosives because there's a complete closure of the airstream. Now, it could be the two lips that are creating the closure, as it is for p and b. The two lips come together and create the closure. But when we are saying t, d, it's actually the blade of the tongue coming into contact with the alveolar ridge. That is what causes the closure. And when we are talking about k, g, it is the back of the tongue coming in contact with the soft palate, and that's how it becomes a velar plosive. So if you're making use of a three-term label, you will say that p is voiceless bilabial plosive, b is voiced bilabial plosive, t is voiceless alveolar plosive, d is voiced alveolar plosive, and k is voiceless velar plosive, and g is voiced velar plosive. So that is how you can give a three-term label to every sound that is available. Similarly, we also did ch and j. So we know that so far as place of articulation is concerned, ch and j are actually palato-alveolar. But so far as their manner of articulation is concerned, they are affricate sounds. Now, what do we mean by affricate? Organs of speech are brought together, but they are separated gradually. There is not a sudden separation causing an explosion as it is with plosive sounds. There's a gradual separation. There's a complete closure, no doubt. So far as j is concerned, it's the blade of the tongue against the alveolar ridge. The front of the tongue, you can see for yourself in the diagram where the blade is, where the front is. It's coming into contact with the roof of your mouth, your hard palate, and your blade. Blade. The blade is coming into contact with the alveolar ridge, and the front of the tongue is coming into contact with the hard palate. So that's what is causing the complete closure of the airstream. And then there is a gradual separation when we say ch and j. And that is what is causing the sound to be produced as it is produced. So it's just for you, you can demonstrate physically when you say When you say these sounds for yourself, you know that the part of your tongue that is touching the roof of your mouth is actually the blade and the front in contact with the alveolar ridge and the hard palate. These are just different labels that we've given to different parts of the mouth so that it becomes convenient for you to describe. Otherwise, how will you describe what is happening in your mouth? So if we've done plosives and affricates, the next in the line is what we speak of as fricative sounds. Now, so far as manner of articulation, fricative, what does it mean? It means two organs of speech have come close together, but we cannot claim that there is a complete closure because the air is moving out all the time. There is a closure in the sense that the organs of speech come close together, but there is no complete, abrupt closure that does not allow air to escape at all. That doesn't happen. So that is what happens when we produce sounds like f, v, s, z, th, the, and even when you say her, for that matter, even sh, zh. So actually, we have 9 sounds which are actually alveolar so far as their manner of articulation is concerned. First is fervor, then we have herther, then we have serzer, then you have shyer, and finally you have So the organs of speech are brought close together, but the air is escaping all the time. So you can see for yourself when we utter a sound like f and v, what is happening? The upper teeth are close to the lower lip. You can say that they are almost touching. F, f, but the air is escaping all the time. There is no abrupt, complete closure. The air is escaping all the time when you say f, v. So that is why we say that f is a labiodental fricative sound. V is also labiodental fricative, but we say f is voiceless labiodental fricative and v is voiced labiodental fricative. That is the only difference. When we come to the, again, this is the problematic sound because when we say the, there is a complete closure. That is the actual difference between the way we say the and the way the native speaker of the language says the. So for them, it is a fricative sound because there is no complete closure. They will say, I think, therefore I am. So it's just a tip against the upper teeth. There is no complete closure. The air is escaping. So you can say, therefore, think, this, that, and so on. Whereas we say, this, that, think, their way we speak it, there is a complete closure, but the way the native speaker speaks it, it is close to the upper teeth, but the air is escaping all the time. When we say in the native speaker style, I think, therefore I am. Again, th, we know, is a voiceless dental fricative, and the is a voiced dental fricative. So that is what you can say about the. When we come to z and sh and j, so now you can see even more clearly what we mean when we say s and z. See, when you say s and z, the air is escaping all the time. So we say that z, and for example, you can say that they are alveolar fricatives because it is the blade of the tongue What is coming close to what? The blade of the tongue is coming close to the alveolar ridge, but the air is escaping all the time. When we say s, z, z, you can feel the air escaping all the time. So because the air escapes and because the passage is narrow, there is that friction created. And that is why this particular sound is spoken of as a fricative sound. So you have s, z, s. They are alveolar fricatives. So s is a voiceless alveolar fricative and z is a voiced alveolar fricative. So you see, when you are asked to identify any particular sound, you may be given a list of sounds and you have to identify what is that sound. So how will you describe it? How will you give a scientific description to it? You will indicate whether it is voiced or voiceless. You will indicate what is its place of articulation. And the third label is what is its manner of articulation. Now, if you go to the next one, which is sh, sh, and sh, sh, and sh, sh, sh. So these are palato-alveolar fricative sounds. So what is the difference? It's just that their manner of articulation, the manner of articulation is identical. It is the same, but the place of articulation is different from s. Because sirs are alveolar, but sh and sh are palato-alveolar. So you understand what I mean by that is that, okay, if you're saying it's just a blade against the alveolar ridge, if you're saying sh, it's not only the blade against the alveolar ridge, but also the front of the tongue against the hard palate. Or you can say it's close. It is raised close to the hard palate and the alveolar ridge. However, air is escaping all the time. Because it is escaping, you have sh, sh. If you didn't allow it to escape, what would it be? J, j. If you allow it to escape, it is sh, sh. So ch, j, sh, y, the place of articulation is the same. They are all palato-alveolar sounds. But with ch and j, the closure is complete. Ch, j, the air doesn't get a chance to escape. But when you're saying sh, sh, the air is escaping all the time. And because the air is escaping, they're called fricative sounds. And ch and j are known as African sounds. So you need to be able to understand what is the difference. Why is it that one sound is coming out as ch and the other sound is coming out as sh? Basically, it is just that air is escaping for sh, but it is blocked for ch. So we say ch, j are affricate, but we say sh, j fricatives. And once you finish these 8 sounds, the 9th sound is actually a. We call it a fricative sound. Why fricative? Because we say h is produced in the glottis. Where is the glottis? Between the vocal cords. Where are the vocal cords? In your voice box or your larynx. So when the air is constricted or the passage is constricted and the air has to push its way through, then you have what is called friction, and that is why is known as a fricative sound. Now, having said as much, what is the next sound that we need to be concerned with? So when we are talking about the next category, we are concerned with nasal sounds. Now, we already discussed this in the beginning, but I'll just repeat it. When we talk about nasal, they are nasal against oral sounds, because oral sounds are where the air escapes through the mouth, but nasal is where the air escapes through the nose. So when we are saying m, n, n, what happens is that for all the other sounds, the soft palate is raised. You know what is the soft palate? It is an extension, if you're talking about the roof of your mouth. The last end of your roof of your mouth is the soft palate. You can see for yourself. Now, when that soft palate is raised, the air passage is blocked, right? So the air cannot move out of the nose. So it has to move out through the mouth. So it is interesting. It's something to be noted that all the sounds, these 44 sounds that we are talking about, for all of these sounds, the soft palate is raised. So if it is raised, if it is straightened out the way it is, if it is raised, then the nasal cavity is blocked. The air doesn't get an opportunity to escape through the nose. But when it is lowered, then the air gets an opportunity to escape through the nose. So when you're saying m and n and ng, now of course this is our attempt at consciously understanding what is happening when we utter these sounds. So please remember that when we actually articulate these sounds, they're the most natural way we do. Perhaps we learn it. It is so spontaneous because we learn it when we are little infants, right? So when we are saying m, actually we are just trying to consciously describe what is happening, that soft palate is lowering and the air is getting an opportunity to escape through the nose. So we have three sounds which we speak of as nasal sounds. One is m, one is n, and one is ng. Now, ng, maybe you might feel that it is a strange sound. What is this ng sound? But basically, it is a sound that you have in finger. Now, in finger, you have ng also and g also. Finger, 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 right? First you have ng, then you have g. So both are velar so far as their place of articulation is concerned. It's the back of the tongue and the soft palate that are involved. So we speak of them as velar sounds. But so far as the manner of articulation is concerned, g is actually a plosive sound, but ng is a nasal sound because there is no complete closure. When you say ng, the air is escaping through the nose. So m, n, and ng are nasal sounds. Now it's important, like often it is that, one is confused about this ng sound. Even if you take a word like sing or king, right? If you say sing and king, you're pronouncing the g. You're just the g. So ng nasal, but g is actually a velar sound. Sorry, g is actually a plosive sound because we are discussing manner of articulation. Sorry. G, both ng and g are velar so far as their place of articulation is concerned. But so far as their manner of articulation is concerned, ng is nasal, but g is plosive. So you should be clear. Your concepts should be absolutely clear in your mind. So that is so far as nasal sounds are concerned. Now we have one more sound. What we should be interested in is the remaining sounds. Now all of them are basically just these four sounds that are left. L, R, Y, V. So L, R, we've covered all the 40. All the other 20 consonant sounds have been covered. But 4 of them are left. And they are L, R, Y, and V. Now, what can we say about L? So far as if we are talking about manner of articulation, we say that L is a lateral sound. Lateral because what we are trying to say is that when we say L, L, L. Um, what happens is that there is a closure. We know that L is alveolar so far as place of articulation is concerned, but the air is escaping from the sides of the mouth. So that is why L is actually those people जो तुतलाते हैं, that is why they constantly say जलूल जलूल आना मेरी मासी की शादी में या मेरे मामा की शादी में जलूल जलूल आना. That is because जो छोटे बच्चे होते हैं, they're not able to say r, so they end up saying l, because l allows the air to escape from the sides of your mouth. So though there is some part of the tongue is touching some part of the roof of the mouth, the air is getting in this opportunity to escape through the sides of the mouth. So the sides of the tongue, rather. So when we are talking about m, n, we say that they are nasal sounds. But when we talk about l, we say that they are lateral sounds. Now, after that, we are left with two sounds. No, we are still left with three sounds. Let's do y and v first. What are y and v? Now, interestingly, so far as the classification of sounds are concerned, so far as their manner of articulation is concerned, we speak of y and v as semi-vowel sounds. Now, why do we call them semi-vowel? Because the argument that they say is that y and v actually involve a glide from one position. The tongue is in one position to another. So basically, they say that y is basically ear, 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 and w is actually u, u, u. It is actually u. W is actually u, and y is actually ear. So that's why they speak of them as semi-vowels. But they don't call them complete vowels because they say that the place they occupy in a word is the initial sound in a word. Now you will say that the normal structure of a word is always called consonant, vowel, consonant. Like any word you take, the initial sound and the final sound will always be consonants, but the central sound will be vowel. So the structure of a word is normally always CVC. It's not to say you can have oo, e, you can have so many, these are just exclamatory sounds. They are communicative in themselves. You might have no initial consonant sound. You may have only a final consonant sound, or you may have only an initial consonant sound and no final consonant sound. But the normal structure, they may be there or not there. Normal structure is always consonant, vowel, consonant. So they say that where, so far as y and w are concerned, they always occupy that position in the word which you give to what are termed as the place. You give it the place which is normally reserved for consonant sounds. And you can see for yourself in words like yet, or wet, or vest, or well, or yacht, or yell, or all these words. Where does the sound come? It is always in the initial position. So because it comes in the initial position, we don't call it a complete vowel. We call it a semi-vowel. And because it involves a glide from one position to the other, we say that it is a vowel sound because j is actually ear and w is actually w. So that is how you can understand the semi-vowels. Now you're left with one R sound. Now that is very interesting. Now we have covered 23 sounds. Now there is one lone sound which is reserved for the end, which is called R. Now R is quite problematic because in different words it is pronounced differently. Its manner of articulation is different. And it is very difficult for all of us perhaps to sound. Now, for example, the initial uh, differentiation is always the way we speak, or the way the English speaker will say, like he will say restaurant. Yeah? We went to a restaurant. But if you go to the French, they will say restaurant, right? Restaurant. Now I'm not able to reproduce that sound either, the way the native speaker says it. But basically, can be rolled, right? You are supposed to, the French roll their R's, right? Meaning, when you say a word like very, right? Supposing you say very, very, very. Just say very. Now, the place of articulation, we know it's post-alveolar. The tip of the tongue is against the back of the teeth ridge, right? We already discussed that the place of articulation is post-alveolar. But when there is just one rapid tap of flexible tongue against the hard part of the alveolar, there's just one tap, then we speak of it very. We roll the R's, then it is a series of rapid taps. It's a series of rapid taps. Now, I keep trying to demonstrate myself, but I am not good at it at all. But I always make use of this word restaurant, the way the French speak it, restaurant, restaurant. They will make a series of rapid taps against the flexible tongue against the hard palate. Perhaps you can always go to these, you have all the amenities. Perhaps you're more savvy than I am so far as technology is concerned. So you can hear it immediately on your mobiles, the way they utter it. So that is one basic difference. One is a roll, one is a flap. Then you have what is called a frictionless continuant, and when it is a fricative sound. Either it is a frictionless continuant. Now, we already decided the place of articulation is the same. It is post-alveolar, right? When you say R. When you say rose, red, rose, red, rose, red, rose, rose, rose. Now, what is happening there? It is frictionless. It is frictionless. But the sound, the air is escaping, but there is no friction. Rose, rose, rose. But when you say train, draw, drip, drip, then you say it is a fricative sound, right? So you see, you either call it a roll or a flap or a fricative or a frictionless continuant. So there are so many different ways of describing how R is to be pronounced. Now, interestingly, one other feature you should note is that in the English language, there are so many words that end in R, right? But we are so funny, or English spelling is so funny, that even though the R is there, we are not pronouncing it. Like, for example, if you even take this doctor, right? Whether you're talking about doctor, or you're talking about tailor, or you're talking about sailor, or you're talking about major, there are commander. Think of innumerable words that end in R, right? They all end in R, but you're not saying major, doctor. We perhaps, when we say it, we perhaps don't bother. We might say doctor also, major also, commander also. But if you're listening to English the way it is meant to be spoken, or the way the native speaker of the language speaks it, the R is never pronounced at all. So even if you have a word like, even when the R doesn't come in the end, it comes in the middle, even then we don't pronounce it. Like, for example, in a word like GIRL, right? Girl, girl, twirl.
Ma'am, parrot.
The R is just very faintly hinted. You never actually pronounce that R sound. Even in a word like cart, we still, because we are not familiar with it, we still make the attempt to. No, in parrot, you definitely pronounce it. In parrot, you definitely pronounce it. But think of words like, for example, CART, right? If you have cart, start, mart, dart, in all these words, the R, you're not supposed to pronounce it. Now, I haven't come to the vowel sounds as yet, but when I talk about long R sound, you will begin to understand that the R is not pronounced because the vowel is elongated. And that's why we say cart and start and mart, but we don't actually pronounce the R at all. So R is a very interesting sound, and you know that when you hear all these foreigners speak, especially when you're talking about the Spanish or the French, you always talk about crap, crap, yeah. How are you? What is it? Comment allez-vous, monsieur? Comment allez-vous? Comment allez-vous, monsieur? And they'll always be très bien, très bien, très bien. So that cré is rolled, the r is rolled. And so it sounds like très bien, very fine, very good. So how are you? Very good. So it's interesting to see how languages work. And now there are so many sounds that we find it impossible, or we would rather not pronounce it, or because then we are not familiar with those sounds at all. So that is how we complete the manner of articulation, all the labels which cover manner of articulation. So you can either have plosive, or you can have affricate, or you can have fricative, or you can have nasal, or you can have lateral, and you can have semi-vowel. And then when you come to R, you can say, oh, sorry, when you come to R, I should never say R. And I think I should warn you also against this mistake. Whenever you use the word R, or when you say R, you're actually referring to the letter of the alphabet, right? You're referring to the letter of the alphabet. But when you say R, you're referring to the sound in the sound system. So when you're talking about phonetic transcription, you will see that all the sounds, when you come to the symbol, you come to the symbol chart. Could you just scroll downwards, Ritika, and when you find all the symbols? No, I think that is higher up. When you find the symbols, you will find the symbols are enclosed in those slash brackets, right? So you can see all those symbols. It's not difficult to learn the symbols. Most of them are identical to the small letters of the alphabet. You just have to make sure that you understand ch, j. Th, the also have different symbols. Th, the, ch, j, sh, y. These are the only symbols which are different. Otherwise, all the other symbols are the small letters of the alphabet. So you shouldn't have a problem in remembering them or in reproducing them either. So now I hope so far as the consonant sounds, the 24 consonant sounds, which are they? P, B, T, D, K, G, the plosive sounds. 6 plosive sounds, right? And when we come to affricate sounds, 2 of them. Which are they? Ch, J, which makes 8. And then you come to 9 fricative sounds, right? So 8 and 9 becomes 17. Which are those 9 fricative sounds? We have f, b, th, th, s, z, sh, y, and h. So 9 and 8, 17. And after that, we have the nasal sounds, m, n, and ng. So that makes it 20. Then you have one l sound, which is lateral. Then you have r, which is different ways in which you can describe it, flap, or you can have roll, or you can have frictionless continuant, or you can have, fricative sound. And the remaining 2 sounds are j and w, which we speak of as semivowels. So in this way, any consonant sound that you're presented with, you should be able to give it a scientific description. So you know what is happening in the mouth, where it is happening, and what is happening, right? You should be able to describe the place as well as a manner of articulation. So that brings us to the end of the consonant sounds. But we need to begin with the vowel sounds. How do you pronounce the vowel sounds is the matter in hand, right? So, what can you say about vowels? We have to classify the vowel sounds. We know that there are 20 vowel sounds. Out of these 20 vowels, we say that 12 are pure vowels and 8 are diphthongs, meaning they involve a glide from one position to the other. Now, how do we classify the vowel sounds? Now, I will not take you in very much detail. I think it would be fine for you to understand that. Just think initially, we'll go on further, but initially just think of the 3 labels that you should know. Whether a particular vowel is a front vowel, a back vowel, or a central vowel. There is a further description also, but currently just think of front, back, and central. Now, what do we mean? We mean that a vowel becomes a front vowel when in the articulation of that sound, it is the front of the tongue that is raised. So basically, for the articulation of vowel sounds, you need to understand the tongue and how you raise the tongue. That decides what is the sound that is ultimately going to emerge from the mouth. So you're interested in which part of the tongue is being raised and how high it is being raised. That is also important to differentiate vowel sounds. But currently, let's think about which part of the tongue is being raised when you utter a particular sound. So when the front of the tongue is being raised, you call it a front vowel. When it is the center of the tongue that is being raised, you speak of it as a central vowel. When it is the back of the tongue that is being raised, you speak of it as a back vowel, right? So it's as simple as that. Now let's think of the vowel sounds. Now I've always tried to introduce these vowel sounds in words which otherwise are absolutely identical, right? So actually this is referred to as minimal pairs, words which are absolutely identical in every other way except one sound, which is different. Now, for example, this is what I have been, I think earlier too, when I spoke of vowels, I introduced you to these sounds. Like supposing you say beat, right? Now beat, 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 e. What is the sound involved? E, e, right? It is a long vowel, e. You have the same sound in teeth, right? Now, what is the symbol for this? If you just scroll upwards, I can tell you here, E, right? So what is the symbol for E? It is a small letter I followed by these two dots as in colon, right? So you have two dots. Now those two dots are indicative of length, meaning it is a long vowel, right? So E, E, of course, the example that he gives is these, right? These. You can have, I'm using E as in beat, right? So whether it is beat or these, or you can have geese, or you can have teeth, or you can have feet, or you can have believe, receive, deceive. You see, all these words use a different spelling, but basically it is the E sound, right? So that is why perhaps it is felt that it is necessary to have an international phonetic script, because the English language is so unreliable and its spelling makes absolutely no sense. So you have this symbol E sound. It is in order to, but uh, sh- it is represented by different letters in different spellings, right? In different words. So in believe it will be IE, in receive it will be EI, right? And then in feet it will be EE, in teeth it will be EE, in these it will be a single E, right? And then again you will have a word like, what can you say about a word like people? People, here also it's a long E, people, people, people. But what is the spelling? OE, right? And what do we say? Yeah, that is why, because of this basic yeah, it is the spelling which is that way. I'm just speaking about the spelling being unreliable, right? The spelling is unreliable. That is why all this need was felt, because they say that English is the most unscientific, most unreliable, most foolish language, because the spelling does not reflect the sound at all. It does not indicate how that particular word or is to be pronounced. So that is interesting. That's just by the way, right? But E is represented by so many different letters of the alphabet. But the sound is E, and the symbol, the phonetic symbol, is I, followed by two dots. Now, it's also called a front vowel. Now, I'm saying it is a front vowel uh, because there is a further classification. I don't want to go into it in such great detail, but basically it is that it's not only which part of the mouth, which part of the tongue is being raised, but how high it is being raised. So if it is at the highest level at which it can go, it is called the close vowel. So it's called the front close vowel. So there are four bifurcations, basically, which have been created just to help you to understand how high the tongue is being raised. So it is raised most spontaneously, but in order to understand how it is being raised, we sort of differentiate between that which is a close vowel, half close, half open, and open. So close is as high as it can go in the mouth without creating a complete closure. Because if there is a complete closure, then the air cannot escape, and then you have a consonant sound. You don't have a vowel sound. So the basic definition of a vowel sound is that the air is allowed to escape without any obstruction. But when you're talking about the E sound, what you're saying is that the front of the tongue is raised as high as it can possibly go without actually touching the roof of the mouth. So you can physically demonstrate for yourself. See, when you say E, 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 what is happening? Your front of the tongue is going as high as it can possibly go. Now, just as you have E, that is a long E, you also have I, right? Now, in Hindi, we have E ki matra and I ki matra, right? We are most familiar with E and I, right? But in English, that is not the case. We have no matras, and the spelling cannot be relied upon. So when the next sound is I. Now, just as you have beat, you can have bit, I, right? The sound that you have in I. Beat, bit, beat, bit. Now, here also we speak of I also as a front vowel because we say that the front of the tongue is raised, but we say it is not raised as high as it is raised for E, it is slightly lower, right? When we say I, I, E, it is raised as high as it can go. I, it is the front of the tongue that is raised, but it is not raised as high as E. Now, having said E, what is the next that we should be interested in? E, right? We are also interested in E. If we have beat, bit, we also have bet. What is the sound in bet? Just as you have in bet, bed, led, read, fed, said, dead, all of them have the E sound. Now, one mistake you might speak of it, one of the problem areas when we speak English, a lot of us, we are not able to, or we don't say the E as we should. We end up saying A, right? Like he said that, or he read that, or for said, instead of said, we say said. Instead of read, we say read. It's not a problem with everybody. I'm just talking about certain routine errors which a lot of Indian speakers make. So please understand this is e, 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 I, e, a. Okay, somebody's telling me it is time. Ah. Now let me just do the ah and then I'll say goodbye to you. So what can you say if it is eh? There is also ah. What do you have? Ah, you have ah in cat, bat, ah, cat, bat, rat, sat, sat. What is it? Ah, ah, ah. Right? So ah. So e, I, e, ah. Right? So you have beat, bit, bet, bat. And you also have but, which is a. So e, I, e, a, a. So these are just 5. And we want we actually have 12 pure vowels. So So when you're thinking of the letters of the alphabet, we're only concerned with A, E, I, O, U, right? So it's just we're not just concerned with A, E, I, O, U, which are the 5 letters of the alphabet. We're concerned with so many different sounds, right? So it is basically okay, Avantika. Sorry. Okay, Avantika. Okay, Ritika. I'll say goodbye to all of you. God bless and take care. And we'll meet again on Thursday. And in the meanwhile, please remember, all of you, that you have to. Okay, what did I say? What was I going to say? That on Friday, I hope the first 10 roll numbers will talk. I do look forward to your talking and your presentations. Okay, beta. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank